The story takes place when I was 27 years old and I experienced a terrible accident. I was unfortunately hit by a falling plank of wood. I died in this accident. Next, I went to another world. I also met a person there who gave me comfort and warmth. I also saw heaven. For some reason, I chose to return to Earth to continue my life. Have you ever been hit on the head? Saw a bright blue light. That's the best way to describe my crossing. If you ever see that light between your eyes, that's the way to heaven. As a business consultant, my job is to provide assistance to business owners, helping them with a variety of business and team issues. I would understand their needs and provide the best solutions to achieve their business goals. One day, I was getting ready to meet with a client. At the time, I was walking down a street. There was a second-floor business on this street that was being renovated. I didn't notice this at the time because there were no tips or safety measures around. When I walked directly below the store, I suddenly heard a loud bang. Then, a strong impact came from my head and I felt a strong pain. Then, I saw a bright blue light. My head started bleeding non-stop. I was so scared and panicked that people around me started calling emergency numbers. My consciousness started to become blurry. The bright blue light was still flashing in my vision as if it was a supernatural presence. I didn't know where the light came from, but it emitted a strong heat that made me feel very warm. I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't know what to expect. I felt as if I was in a state of solitude. I wasn't sure if I was alive or if I had crossed over to another world. My heartbeat gradually became faint and I felt like my life was slowly fading away. Suddenly, I heard a soft voice telling me, "Stop struggling, your injuries are now very serious. I will take you to a safe place." This voice brought me an inexplicable peace and comfort. My pain gradually eased, as if healed by a mysterious power. The fear and anxiety inside me was also gradually soothed. I followed the light and began to move upward. I felt my body became very light. Slowly, I left the ground and floated in the air. My soul became light and free of any pain and constraint. This experience made me feel very wonderful. I felt that I was wrapped in an incomparably pure energy. In this state, time and space seemed to lose their meaning. I floated into the sky above the city. Everything on the streets started to become small, like mini models of the city. Vehicles were going back and forth like insects, and crowds were like ants. I saw people hurrying through the streets, they were busy chasing their dreams. Everyone had their own unique stories and goals. I saw cafes on the street where people gathered. Soon I was off the planet. I was transported into a whole new dimension. In this dimension, I saw beautiful and mysterious planets and galaxies. Countless stars shone with a mysterious light. Suddenly, I appeared in a brightness. A step appeared in front of me. The step seemed to be made of soft cotton, giving a comfortable and warm feeling. As I stepped on each step, I immediately felt a light force lift me up. No matter how hard I pressed it, they always gently accepted me. I could not feel any pressure. It was as if I had become one with the steps. With each step, new steps appeared before my eyes like magic, greeting my steps perfectly. Each step was full of soft elasticity, and this comfortable feeling spread throughout my body. When I put my foot down, the steps would sink slightly and then quickly return to their original state. At the same time, these steps also emit a special aroma. It was a fresh and fragrant smell. I no longer felt tired, but full of energy and motivation. Finally, I reached the last step. As I stopped, I spotted a small bridge. The bridge spans over a peaceful stream. It was very simple in shape and exuded a sense of rustic and pure beauty. The bridge is made of white stone. The surface of the stone is smooth and delicate. After years of baptism, it shows a unique natural texture. When the sun shines on it, the stone shines with a faint light. The water under the bridge flows slowly and quietly. The bridge is lined with various flowering plants, and the fragrance of the flowers fills the air. When the breeze blew, the flowers began to sway gently. On the opposite side of the bridge, I saw my father and other relatives. Their eyes were filled with deep love. A white light surrounded them, giving off a dazzling and pure glow. This white light was the brightest, purest white I had ever seen. It felt like this light could penetrate all gloom and negativity. It was as if this light was a symbol of love that tied me to my loved ones. Behind my loved ones, a huge building appeared, which was also built of white stone. This building exuded a solemn and sacred atmosphere. It was so huge that it seemed to stretch to the end of the sky. The first person who spoke to me was my father. He said, "Dear daughter, what are you doing up there?" I replied, "Dad, I don't know. I was hit on the head by something, and then I came to this place." There was a flash of concern in my father's eyes, and he touched my shoulder gently. He just told me, "I can't stay here yet. I think they are so lucky. I envy them for being able to live here." I saw a bright light at the top of the building, and I wanted to get closer to see it more clearly. Just as I was about to approach, my great-grandfather blocked my way. He looked at me with firm, loving eyes. He told me that it was not the right time for me to approach the lamp. But I didn't give up, and I tried again to get closer. This time, my father stood in front of me. In a gentle but firm voice, he told me that now was not the time and that I needed to be patient. I was a little angry. That's when the rest of the family said to me, "Now you have to go back, you have a lot of things to accomplish." I replied, "I don't want to go back, I want to stay with you, and I don't know how to get back." Suddenly, a strong bright light appeared above me, and it was like a lightning bolt in the dark. I looked up to find the source of the light, and I couldn't believe my eyes. I actually saw Jesus. I was surrounded by his light, and I felt a strong sense of love. His light gave me hope and comfort. I asked Jesus, "Do I have to go back? Do I have a choice?" Jesus answered, "Of course you do. You are hurt very badly. If you want to stay here, no one will blame you." I began to think about my answer. Here I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and tranquility. I can be away from pain forever and have eternal joy. When I thought about my son, I also felt a deep sense of attachment and responsibility. Then I asked Jesus, "What will happen to my mother down there? And my son, can I let them come up together?" He didn't answer me directly. He gently placed his hand on my shoulder and gestured for me to look down. Following his guidance, my family appeared in my line of sight. I saw myself lying in the operating room. My mother was in the hospital hallway, her eyes revealing sadness and loss. The rest of my family was also immersed in grief. Jesus whispered in my ear that they were sad for you. Those words touched my heart deeply. I could feel the love and attachment they had for me. He also showed me a picture of the future. I saw my mother, becoming even thinner. She was sitting at home in the picture, no longer eating regularly, and her body was becoming gradually weaker. I felt my mother's loneliness and helplessness in the picture, and she had lost her enthusiasm and motivation for life. Her eyes are full of melancholy and loss, and she no longer takes care of her health as she used to. Then, I saw my son's graduation ceremony. I saw him standing on the stage without his family by his side. His eyes revealed sadness and loss. He looked extraordinarily lonely in the crowd, with no one to share this momentous occasion with. He had achieved an excellent result, which made me feel immensely proud. This scene made me even more determined to go back. I want to be there for my son at every important moment in his life. He needed my love and care. And I didn't want him to face the hardships of life alone again. Suddenly, I heard the prayers of my family. Their voices cut through the barriers of time and space. My husband, who clasped his hands together, closed his eyes and prayed silently. His prayers were filled with love and hope that I would wake up. My mother was also praying for me. She poured out her worries about me to God. My friends joined in the prayers. I saw that their prayers were gathering into a powerful energy that gradually came together. This energy began to shimmer softly and form a transparent sphere. As I gazed into that ball of energy, I felt the thoughts and blessings of my family and friends, as if they were right there with me. I decided to return to Earth and to my family and friends. I stood on the steps, facing Jesus and my family, and gave my decision. Jesus nodded his head and acquiesced to my decision. Then I thought to myself, will I go back and experience physical pain? Jesus seemed to know what I was thinking. He said, "You don't have to worry about this, I will give you a healthy body." His voice was so full of comfort that I felt overwhelmingly at ease. I began to move slowly downward, and the steps seemed to turn into a smooth escalator. I crossed the roof and then entered the operating room. The doctors and nurses were focused on the surgery as they worked to repair my injured body. Jesus put my soul back into my body without incident. The surgery went very well. A month later, I had made a full recovery. The doctors were amazed at the speed of my recovery. They could not explain the reason for it, only I knew the miracle of it. The grace of Jesus enabled me to regain my health. The pain in my body gradually dissipated and was replaced by a return of strength and vitality. I am grateful for the second chance Jesus has given me and am determined to approach life with a more cherished attitude. Although I also miss my father terribly, I understand that he is already waiting for me in that beautiful place. I am confident that we will be together again in the near future. I know that I have more important things to do now. I long to be able to stand by my son's side on the day he graduates and be proud of his accomplishments. This experience has given me a deep understanding of how precious life is. I will face each day with a grateful heart. I know that no matter what the future holds, Jesus will be by my side to guide me.
For as long as I can remember, I have always been a lover of the water. When I was a kid, my father was a swimming instructor and he always took me and my brother to the beach. At that time, we often surfed and dived at the beach, and this way of life influenced the rest of my life. I have always had a great respect and awe for the power of the ocean. I know that the beauty of the ocean comes with its dangers. After graduating from college, I turned my hobby into a career. I became a surf photographer, focusing on capturing the moments of professional surfers in the water. I needed to find the best vantage point in the water to capture the magnificent sight of them taking on the huge waves. I have swum in waves in Hawaii and elsewhere. Each time, I was both excited and scared. I could feel the power of the giant waves and their height and speed was awe-inspiring. Sometimes I was in danger, but each time I was able to make it to shore safely. I seem to have 9 lives and have been lucky enough to escape time and time again. For me, surf photography is not just a job, it's a calling. Through my lens I hope to convey the beauty and power of the ocean and inspire a sense of reverence for nature. I know it's not an easy path, but I would give anything to pursue my deepest passion. Whether I'm swimming in huge waves or standing on the beach watching the waves roll in, I feel incredibly happy and content. This lifestyle has become an indispensable part of my life. However, I am also aware of the dangers of the ocean, and on November 8, 2013, I experienced a terrible accident. The waves were unusually rough that day. The pulsating waves kept crashing against the shoreline, creating impressive swells. Even though I had experienced bigger waves, I felt an inexplicable sense of tension and unease in my mind that day. Some voice was telling me that this surfing might bring trouble. However, I ignored this warning because I was confident in my surfing skills. Every surf was a confrontation with the ocean, and I thought I could handle them. But at that very moment, a huge wave suddenly came at me that was higher than any wave that had come before. I struggled to control my balance and tried to avoid this huge wave, but it swiftly swept me in. I was knocked down by the tremendous impact and lost my sense of direction and balance. I was engulfed by the tumbling wave and my body was completely out of control. I tried to swim toward the surface, but I kept being pulled downward by the incoming current. I felt helpless and scared, I was in danger of drowning. I desperately searched for an escape, but my strength gradually ran out and my breathing became difficult. Suddenly, I appeared in a dark space. I could not see anything here. I felt very scared and confused. I was surrounded by walls. I reached out and groped the walls around me. I took each step carefully, trying to find a clue or an exit. I walked for a long time without finding any exit. The space was like an endless maze, with no exit at all. The walls stretched infinitely upward, as if I could not see its height. Every step I took was accompanied by the echo of my footsteps, which made my mood heavier. I put my hand on the wall and felt very cold. In this endless maze, the concept of time and space became blurred. I began to feel desperate and lonely, not knowing how to get out of this state. Suddenly, I noticed a faint light flickering, like a ray of hope. I kept staring at that faint light as if it was my only hope. It flickered in the darkness, bringing me a glimmer of warmth and comfort. I moved in the direction of that light, hoping to escape as soon as possible. My whole body was filled with courage and determination. I was getting closer to that light and I could feel its warmth. Eventually, I got out of that dark space. After entering the light, I saw a white tunnel. The tunnel continued upward. I began to move upward. The walls of the tunnel were smooth and white, emanating a sacred atmosphere. It was as if I was being lifted up by an invisible force that was guiding me forward. As I moved upward, my mind was filled with peace and happiness. Finally, I reached the end of the tunnel. A magnificent scene unfolded before my eyes. I had come to a beautiful place. The lush flowers and plants emitted a charming fragrance, and the clear lake shone with crystal light. I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and happiness, and my heart was filled with gratitude. Here, I felt true freedom and peace. Suddenly, I heard a beautiful piece of music. It was a kind of music I had never heard before. The music had a strong sense of rhythm, from upbeat to slow, from high to low, and each melody made me feel delighted and moved. I could not contain my emotions, and every note touched my heart deeply. This music made me feel very close to it. It not only has a wonderful melody, but also a wonderful power. It makes me feel closely connected to the world. My soul was baptized here. Here, I feel that my body becomes exceptionally light, as if I have wings. I can fly in the sky. I feel the breeze blowing gently on my cheeks. The sunlight sprinkled on my body, giving me endless energy and joy. I soar freely in the sky and enjoy the scenery. I am like a free little bird. I flew over mountains and rivers. I touched the softest clouds in the sky. A spectacular waterfall appeared before my eyes. The water drops down from high above, like floating silk. I saw a young girl next to the waterfall. She had long brown hair. I stopped beside her and greeted her. There was a sparkle of wisdom and kindness in her eyes. I don't know why, but I felt a kindred spirit with her. I asked her curiously, "What is this place?" I had never seen such a beautiful sight. She replied gently, "This is heaven, a place of peace and beauty. Here, all pain and distress will disappear." Her words shocked and surprised me, and my mouth opened wide in disbelief. I had imagined the beauty of heaven, but it was even more beautiful than I had imagined. She also invited me to her house, and I accepted her invitation. We flew together through the dense woods and came to a cottage. Her home was a warm and natural place, surrounded by flowers and green grass dotted around. In her home, we tasted delicious food together, and laughter and joy filled the room. She also took me for a walk along the creek to appreciate the beauty of nature. I felt incredibly relaxed and happy in her company. Her kindness and warmth made me feel like I was at home. Finally, she told me that there are still many people on earth who love me and who are worried about me. I had to go back to them. Although heaven was wonderful, my mission was not yet complete. My heart became very complicated. I could not leave this place, but longed to return to my family. She gently touched my shoulder and gave me warm encouragement and support. She said, "You are a brave and loving person, and people on earth need your presence. Return to them with the blessings of heaven." I nodded my head. As we said goodbye, she asked me, "Do you know why you met me here?" I shook my head in confusion, curious about her question. She smiled and continued, "I am your sister." I was very surprised to hear this. My parents had never told me that I had a sister. She seemed to see my confusion. Then she went on to say, "You will get the answer you want when you go back." At this very moment, I felt my soul trembling. This feeling was getting stronger and stronger. The scene in front of me started to become blurred, and the white tunnel surrounded me again. My soul trembled more and more intensely, as if an invisible force was leading me. I knew that I was about to return to Earth and to my family. As I traveled through the tunnel, the white glow faded away. I was surrounded by seawater and the water pressure made my body feel heavy. Just when I could barely stand it, a bright light suddenly illuminated the bottom of the water. The light was like an invisible arm that freed me from the darkness. I had been spotted. They were a search and rescue team. They were armed with breathing equipment and quickly approached me. One of the search and rescue team members swam to me and held my hand tightly. They quickly brought me to the surface. As I breathed fresh air again, I felt very lucky. I was pulled to the rescue boat. I was taken to a nearby hospital. My family also arrived at the hospital, their eyes full of worry. My parents hugged me tightly. The doctors examined my body in detail and didn't find anything too serious. They just told me to go back and get some rest. The day after I returned home, my mother and I sat on the couch. I took a deep breath and decided to share my experience in heaven with my mother. "Mom, there is something I want to tell you," I said in a soft voice. She nodded. Before I was rescued, I went on an amazing journey. I traveled through a white tunnel and entered a beautiful place. I met a woman. She caressed my shoulder and offered me encouragement and support. She said she was my sister. My mother's voice began to tremble and she shed tears of sadness. I held her hand tightly and I felt her sadness. "My child, I never told you because this is my most painful memory. Before you were born, there was a car accident in our family. Your sister tragically passed away in that accident. She was only 7 years old at the time." My mother's voice carried endless sorrow. My heart immediately heaved and I looked at my mother in disbelief. I never thought I had a sister. After the accident, I felt it was my fault, I didn't protect her, my mother continued. This painful experience has always bothered me, and I didn't want to remember it, so I didn't tell you about it. I understand the pressure and self-blame my mother has been under, and I know she is also in great pain inside. I comforted my mother by saying that it was not your fault. You are a loving mother. Please don't blame yourself anymore. My sister wouldn't want to see you in such pain. Now my sister is living a happy life in heaven. The mother raised her head, and her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Slowly, her expression became softer. Mother took a deep breath and then dried her tears. I hugged my mother tightly. And we felt each other's warmth and love. Although the loss of my sister was a painful memory, it also made me understand more about the preciousness of life and the importance of family. I will always miss my sister.